Okay, we can go ahead and get started. I just want to double check to make sure the webcaster and moderator are ready to go.
Yes, we are.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Christy Underwood, the Executive Officer of the Board. Our chair for this meeting today is not able to attend, so I will go ahead and get us started and lead us through our discussion today. If able, we do appreciate cameras being on for committee members. I believe it is actually required by law. So I do see some of you, so hopefully we can have those cameras on. And we are going to start by establishing a quorum. I will go ahead and call the roll. First off, we have Callie Mayfam is absent today. Reese Isbell.
Here.
Danielle Munoz.
Here.
Jude Ballman.
Here.
Paul Bryson.
Here.
And Leslie Rosti.
Here.
All right, we do have a quorum. I'm sorry. Just want to check if Jude can turn her camera on if it's possible.
Yes, one moment. It's gonna take a second.
No problem.
Thanks.
All right, while Jude's doing that, I think we could get started though, right, Sabina? Okay. We're going to go ahead and get started with our agenda today. Thank you all for joining us. Our first item on the agenda is review and possible approval of the January 22nd, 2024 committee meeting minutes. So if I could get a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll motion to approve.
All right, that's Leslie. And do we have a second?
Danielle,
I think Danielle second. Thank you so much. Any discussion from the committee members? And seeing none, at this point, we will go ahead and open it up for public comment.
This is the moderator. Is there any public comment in the room?
No.
Thank you. If anyone on WebEx would like to make a comment on the minutes, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand, or you may look for the question mark icon, click that, type the word comment into the text box and click send. Each speaker will have 2 minutes with a 15-second warning. Are there any comments on the minutes? I do not see any requests for comment. Shall I close that feature?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will go ahead and call the roll for the vote to approve the minutes. Reese Isbell.
Yes.
Danielle Munoz.
Yes.
Jude Ballman.
Yes.
Paul Bryson.
Yes.
And Leslie Rosti.
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes. We will move on to our next item. Our next item is a discussion and possible recommendation of trends being observed in the industry. So this is part of the board's strategic plan. One of our goals is to engage our Health and Safety Advisory Committee to get industry input on trends being observed in the field. So this is just something that we'd like to open up to anyone who wishes to speak up. And if you're seeing any industry trends out there that you feel that would benefit discussion of this committee meeting. So we would open it up to any of our committee members at this time.
I don't know if it's this committee, but I'll offer this. I think I saw the Instagram has some really great educational material, and in one of the recent posts there was like a whole conversation, or several of our licensees were talking about the limits of their scope and other states, having more expansive scope. And that just made me curious. I'm a board member here, but I'm representing the public as a public member. And so I didn't know if there was space to just talk about that, or any awareness that maybe can come from that conversation, and if there are any plans to widen scope, or if there's a really good reason why folks do have limited scope. And I can try to find the Instagram posts, but it kind of opened up a whole conversation from the licensees, and it made me sort of curious.
I am very familiar with that Instagram post.
Okay, good. Okay.
I believe it may have started out with in the aesthetics and what you can't do. We've been trying to do sort of scope of practice posts in general. Here's what's within scope, here's what's out of scope. And we did get a lot of comments on the aesthetics one, because there are several states that allow there's some states that have an advanced aesthetics license, and there's some states that have they can use different tools. For instance, Arizona, you can use a needle. You can use a needle to do an extraction, as opposed to you cannot do that in California. So there's a lot of differences in scopes for aesthetics. There is also a lot of similarities, and sometimes those are also confused. Like one of our biggest issues we deal with right now is body contouring, and that is out of scope. The FDA states it on their website that it is the practice of medicine. And a lot of, I've heard a lot of estheticians say that they can do that in other states, but all the other states I've talked to have said no. So I think there's a lot of just confusion about scope of practice in general. And it really, when it comes to aesthetics, because aesthetics changes like every day, there's something new. So to update scope of practice, that would take a legislative change. It's definitely something I think we should look at and consider, as we start next year to start preparing our sunset report for the following year. I think that's definitely something we could look at and start really comparing scopes of practices with other states to what we have in ours as well, to see if we could expand that.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad you knew exactly which one. Thank you. That helped a lot. And I like your plan to maybe just compare with other states. I am genuinely curious. I do listen to the licensees, and I take into consideration, their input and feedback. And we always want to make this a competitive field, and keep the integrity, but also our main focus is public safety. So I personally am curious to know if if you were to look at other states and then the expanded scope of practice in those areas, like what has been the risk and harm to consumers, if there has been any, and does that, and if it's low, do we want to look at expanding scope? But if it's high, then we might want to do more education. So I just wanted to take a moment and just spend some time on what our licensees provided feedback on.
Sounds good. Anyone else have any input? All right, hearing none, I think we could go ahead and open it up for public comment.
And this is the moderator. Again, there probably no comment in the room at this time, right?
Correct.
Fantastic. So if you are online and you'd like to make a comment on any of the trends discussed or any new trends, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand, or you may look for the question mark icon, click that, type the word comment into the text box and click send. Are there any comments on trends observed? And I do not see any requests for comment. Shall I close that comment feature?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
All right, with no motion needed on that, we're going to go ahead and move to our next agenda item. The next agenda item is a discussion and possible recommendation regarding the health and safety course update. So this was discussed at our last committee meeting. We, as most of you know, have a health and safety course that's developed by the board that is required to be taught in schools. It's not only health and safety information, but it's also health and safety for the workers. And so for the licensees. We sent portions of this out to pretty much everybody on the call, as well as people that weren't able to make it today. And we have come up with the revised content for the health and safety course. I am not going to go through it word for word. Most of the comments, I can tell you from staff, we had no concerns with. I don't need to go through it word for word, right? Okay. The additions that people made, I think, were great, and we changed a lot of the language, did a lot of cleanup, and so that is in your packets that you received. It's as a track changes. So with that, I will open it up if anyone has any comments on any of the recommended changes to the course.
This is Reese. If I may, I do have a few.
Yes.
The first one on page 90, we changed, I think this was me actually. I changed everything from his or her to their, and I found another one on page 90 that, just to be consistent, it's the first line of the questions for review.
Yep.
And so if we could just be consistent there with changing she to they, and they have, actually. On a larger issue, I wanted to talk about the section on HIV and AIDS.
Huh?
I didn't review this section, but I was looking at it. It seems sort of like outdated language. I'm not sure how connected this is with current language, and I don't know where we got some of this language. It seems old to me. I'm not going to go through it line by line or anything. I'm not really an expert in doing that. It just there were some concerns I had about that. Also, the hotlines. There is no more a Southern California hotline, which is on page 64. I actually tried to call that number and it was something else. So this is partly why I worry that this is a little outdated language. In particular, I was wondering if we could also change on page 64 the sidebar call out on personal rights. The first sentence is individuals have a right to keep their test results confidential. I'd like to change that to test results and or status, which I think is more current language. And then on the second line, there's the word you near the end of the line. I don't think we need that word you. I think it is important that a worker cannot be fired.
Yep.
Anyway, I don't know. I didn't review this until getting this to review for the committee. Yeah, just some of the language seemed a little outdated to me. But I defer to the experts on that. And as long as we can add the word status and remove the Southern California line, it's all just one California. There's no Northern, there's no Southern. So it's
Okay.
the first 800 for AIDS is the California line.
Okay, great. Thank you. And we can look at that language as well to make sure we can see what we can do to get it updated.
That would be great. Like I said, I'm not an expert, but just reading through it, it just felt a little dated. Thanks.
All right. Any other comments on the changes? I see Paul's hand raised.
Page 25, one of my own editions, I saw a typo reviewing it. Yeah. And now I speak up and I accidentally scroll away from it. Give me a second. Computers. To make lives easier. All right. Page 25, section 3, composition and informational ingredients. Section 3 of the is about the SDS. There's a red addition, which is me. The SDS is only required to list potentially hazardous ingredients. It is not necessary to list every ingredient in the section. It should say, it is not necessary. If you look at it carefully, it says, is not. It not. So I just dropped a word there. Sorry about that. The rest of it, for a complete list of ingredients, that's fine. But
Okay.
Yeah, just one foolish typo there.
All right. Any other comments, concerns? All right. Hearing none, we will open it up for public comment.
This is the moderator, and still no comment in the room, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. So if you are logged into WebEx and you'd like to make a comment on the course plan update, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. You may look for the question mark icon, click that, type the word comment into the text box and click send. Each speaker will have 2 minutes with a 15-second warning. Are there any requests for comment? And I do not see any requests for comment. Shall I close that feature?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Moving it along.
Okay.
But you're going to recommend to the full board.
Okay. So with that, we were just discussing with our legal counsel here on a potential motion. We would ask for a motion to move the updates to the health and safety curriculum with allowing the executive officer to make non-substantive changes as brought up by member Isbell
And for
and Bryson,
for the full board for consideration.
and to take that to the full board for consideration. If you'd like to make that motion, you can say so moved.
I so move.
Thank you, Reese. And do I have a second?
Before we do that, I just actually found another apparent error. Sorry. Way in the depths. It is page 69. Bodily fluids spreading HIV and AIDS. There's no single correct answer there. There should be an answer, which is A, C, and D. You see that?
Yeah.
Do you get that, Allison? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
The answer E should be A, C, and D because it's all three of those.
Got it. I see.
Sorry about that.
No, thank you. That's also why I was feeling like that some of it was out of date, or just not fully vetted. So thank you for that addition too.
Okay. Leslie, did you have a comment? I thought I saw your hand raised for a minute.
Yeah, but then I figured out what it was. It was where there was a bunch of red. I figured it out. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So we do have a motion on the floor. I am still waiting for a second.
I'll second it. Leslie.
Thank you. All right. Any additional comments from the committee? Seeing none, we will open it up for public comment on the motion.
If anyone has any comment on the motion, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. You may look for the question mark icon, click that, type the word comment into the text box and click send. And each speaker will have 2 minutes with a 15-second warning. Are there any comments on the motion? I do not see any requests for comment. Shall I close the public comment feature?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
All right. We will now call the vote. Reese Isbell,
Yes.
Danielle Munoz,
Yes.
Jude Ballman,
Yes.
Paul Bryson,
Yes.
and Leslie Rosti.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes. With that, we will go to our next item in rocket speed, and we will do we will open it up to public comment for any items not on the agenda.
And this is the moderator. I assume no comments in the room, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. If anyone would like to make a comment on an item that is not on the agenda, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand, or you may click on the look for the question mark icon, click that, type the word comment in the text box, and click send. Each speaker will have 2 minutes with a 15-second warning. Any suggestions or any items that are not on the agenda? And I do not see any requests for comment. Shall I close that feature?
Yes, please. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Our last agenda item is any suggestions for any future agenda items. Does the committee wish to bring up any future agenda items? And please know, as a member of the committee, you're welcome to email me at any time if something comes up that you feel should be discussed at this meeting, and we will add it to the agenda. I'm seeing no comments. So with that, I think this has been our fastest of many that we've had today. So, but in the meantime, I do really want to thank you all for all the written edits that you provided to that curriculum. That was very helpful, and we really appreciate you taking the time to help us out on that. And with that, we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Great to see everyone. Bye.